Welcome, everyone, and thank you for attending today's webcast, Design Files Automated Publishing and Connecting the Design Chain. Our presenters today are Julia Grant. She's a Senior Technology Strategist with Hagerman & Company, and also Mike Space. He's a Solutions Engineer with Hagerman. Before we get started, I'll let you know that you are in listening only mode. If you think of questions during the presentation, you can type those into the question panel, which is located on the right-hand side of your screen, and there will be a Q&A session at the end as well where questions can be answered. As we close down the session today, you will be prompted to fill out a short survey, and we do ask that you take a few moments to fill that out for us. Also, all registrants will receive a follow-up email tomorrow, which will contain a link for the recording of today's presentation. And I'm going to first hand things over to Julia.
Thanks, Ashley. Good morning, good afternoon to everybody. Again, I'm Julia Grant. I am the Senior Technology Strategist with Hagerman, and we will be, my bandwidth isn't great, so the webcam is going to go off and we'll get started. So, as we all know, we're here to talk about automated publishing. Quick review of the agenda. Why do you even want to automate? What's the difference between manual and automated? Let's talk about some ROI associated with it. Mike's going to then get to do the fun stuff and show you an actual process that can be used. And at the end, we'll have some time for Q&A. So most of you know that other stakeholders inside and outside your companies require design documentation in different formats. They might be PDF files, DXF files for sheet metal parts, step files for manufacturing. The list can go on and on. Manual creation, as we will demonstrate, it's time-consuming and error-prone. It results in costs that really are avoidable. Ashley, could you put up that first poll question, please? What we're just asking is, what kind of files do you need to produce from your design documentation? And we're getting some results, Ashley?
Yes, we are. If you look at the poll section, you can see those results coming in, or would you like me to just let me know when you're ready to close?
All right, I think we've got some good ones.
Okay.
I think we can close that poll.
Do you want me to share the results?
Please do.
Okay.
So this is pretty typical of what we see. So almost all of us have to share PDF files. They may be 2D or 3D, but PDF is, the way that most of us look at it. Quite a few people need to share DXF, probably for sheet metal. And then we've got quite a few native as well as paper, which, unfortunately we still can't avoid. So, is the poll closed, Ashley?
Yes, it is.
Okay, perfect. Oh, sorry about that. So now let's take a quick look at manual publishing. You can see the slide. It requires multiple steps. As engineers and designers, this quote-unquote busy work, it gets in our way, and it stops us from doing what our real jobs are, which is designing and engineering. But it is a critical process. We have to ship product to customers in order to generate income and, really importantly, get our paychecks. So what are some of the disadvantages? I think we all know, right? We just looked at the time-consuming process that many of you go through today. The bottom line, it's error-prone. That results in soft costs, such as design time, as well as hard costs, purchasing the wrong revision, and production errors. In my opinion, though, the largest part of an error in publishing is simple. It's customer satisfaction and on-time, on-budget delivery of your products to your customers. Now, let's take a quick look at what automated publishing may look like. So, drawings and models are checked into the vault. Then we have rules such as lifecycle state change. At that point, a job could be triggered to create the neutral file formats required. PDF, STEP, DXF, native files, whatever the case is for your particular situation. Here's sometimes where it gets really tricky though. A lot of times in your companies, you have to name these files differently than what they may be named in the vault. They may need to be time-stamped. They may need to go into a completely different location on your network or into a cloud server. And then at the end of this process, you still have to notify users that these files are available and updated. So Ashley, if we could do the next poll question, that would be great. So, quick question. On a monthly basis, how many files do you need to generate to share? Again, PDF, DXF, native, whatever that may be. All right, so we're getting some poll results. All right, we'll just give another minute. All right, I think we've got a good representation. Okay. If you don't mind sharing that.
Sure.
So it appears that the majority of you are in that 100 to 500 files per month range. That is a lot of files to manually publish. So we can close that down. So what are some of the advantages? Pretty simple, folks. It's you don't forget, and you don't accidentally name or store those files incorrectly. I want to take just a quick minute to kind of go over the return on investment from time. And time is the soft cost. So this is an example of a company that produces 1,000 PDF or STEP files a month. There's some assumptions such as burden rate, those numbers of files, but the bottom line is there's a soft cost with manually creating those neutral files. In this particular case, that adds up to $85,000 a year in soft costs. Now, we have this spreadsheet available, so if anybody is interested in getting a hold of it so you can change, your own information, number of files, burden rates, etc., please let us know. We'd be more than happy to get those over to you. Now let's take a look at errors and omissions. This is hard cost. One of our favorite customer examples, this customer makes mixing equipment, and we're not talking KitchenAid mixers, we're talking very, very large industrial mixers. So on a Friday afternoon, an engineer made an update, did a revision to a model, and forgot to save it to the right location on the network so that their SAP system would pick it up. Monday morning, purchasing sent the wrong revision out to their vendor, and about 2 weeks later, casting came back. Unfortunately, that casting was to the wrong revision. It could not be machined. It could not be saved. Needless to say, the CEO was not very happy. So to this day, that casting plays a role in Lake Ontario as a $100,000 boat anchor. So now I'm going to turn it over to Mike to show you the good stuff.
Thank you, Julie.
You're welcome.
I want to thank everybody for taking some time out and attending this presentation. I do want to just mention the question section. If you do have any questions, please feel free to put them and post them. We will be answering and addressing all questions that we can as soon as we're done with our presentation. If there is also anything that you have trouble seeing or need me to slow down, I'll ask you just to put that in the chat, and then Ashley or Julia, you can just direct me as needed. Okay. So the general idea here is I'm going to be demonstrating two different methods or two different scenarios. Okay. One is a general new design that I just created or possibly got from a vendor of mine, and I'm going to be putting that into the vault and showing a couple of rules that I have set up. And again, all of these rules are nothing that I can't do myself. But by trying to automate things, we are trying to save time. We are trying to avoid errors in me forgetting to do something. And most of all, I want all of my engineers and designers doing everything the exact same way at the same time so that I know that we're as efficient as possible. Okay. What you're looking at on my screen right now is just simple Inventor Professional 2021, and I'm working with a simple hub design that I got from a vendor of mine. And as you can see, I've got my part file and I've got a drawing file for it. And if I look at this right now, you can see that this is not in the vault. This is brand new. This is something that just came to me, but as a company, I'm going to put this into my data management system so that I can start to maintain its revisions. I could be owning this design where I handle the revisions from this point forward, or this could be a design from a vendor that I'm simply managing, but they're owning the design. So I am not going to be demonstrating my phenomenal inventor skills today. Nobody needs to see me draw another cube. So at this point, I'm just going to simply check this in using my standard inventor practices, and I could just say new design, okay, prototype, and I just say okay to this. Very simply, you're going to see it gets vaulted. It's that quick. There's not much to see here, but if you notice, I just had a pop-up come up and say, hey, 2 new jobs have been added to the queue. One of the rules that I have set up is that as soon as drawings or files come into my vault, I want the DWIF created automatically for me. So I don't have to worry about it in Inventor. I'm letting my job processor handle that in the background. That way my designer can get back to work quickly. So if I go to the vault right now and I go into my design folder, you'll see this new folder that just came up called prototypes. And if I go to prototypes, there is my new hub. Now, a couple of things that I also want you to notice that this is important, and you'll see that it automatically got put into a work in progress state. It automatically got assigned an initial revision. It picked up on the project information that I had within the file, and it got assigned different life cycles based on some rules that I had told it. So I told Lavaut that anything that's a drawing, I want to go to this automated distribution on release. And anything that's a model, I would like it to go to the model life cycle. Now, why is that important? I have specific tasks set up within my life cycles to go and produce different outputs. So when I release a new file, if it's in the model category, it's going to automatically create a step file export for me, and it's going to copy that to a specific folder. Okay, and it's going to copy it to a specific folder within another section of my vault called Cloud Sync. The reason I'm doing that is I'm extending my vault to the exterior of my firewall. So I'm sending this out to my Fusion team location so that my vendors and partners and whoever else I need to be can see when something new is output. A couple of other things that I also have based on these rules, okay, and that is I want to make sure that I get the time that I created this file and the revision of this file so that people know that they're looking at the correct and latest one, okay? So very simply, if I were just to go in here, if I look at my job queue right now, you'll see that I've got these two pending operations, and these are the DWIF creations. My job processor cycles every 10 minutes to see any new jobs that have come in. I'm going to add a bunch of new things in here and then kick it off manually because I don't want everybody to have to wait 10 minutes. So if I were to just take these two files right here, and I can simply say, I'm going to change the state of these because I know they're good, okay? I'm going to go change this one, and I want to go to, let's undo that. I'm going to go to released for this. And then for the drawing, I'm also going to go to released. And if you notice, it just added a few more jobs to my queue, okay? These new jobs you're going to see very quickly are the creation of the step and the creation of the PDF. PDFs for my drawings, creation of the step for my part files. Now, I have this set up very simply where I'm just doing one file export per each. But think about this. If this were a sheet metal part, I could be exporting a step, using my script to see if it's a sheet metal part, and if so, does it have a flat pattern? And another, if so, export the flat pattern as a DXF for me. I could go and take these scripts to whatever level that I want. Now, these are brand new files coming in, but what about data that I already have in my vault? Okay, because a lot of people already have Vault. Well, how can I implement these and use these already? And it's very, very simple. I have in here a very simple DC motor, and it has to it a drawing that it's used in. So I'm going to take and I'm going to take all of these things, okay, except for the drawing, and I'm going to change the category on that one, and I'm going to put these into automated models, okay? But I'm going to ignore the drawing because I don't want that one to go to the models. I'm going to take the drawing and I'm going to change the category on this one to the drawing one. Now, I could even script this if I wanted to, but I didn't want to go too far down that road, okay? One of the beautiful benefits of Vault is that it allows me to manipulate and edit the data on massive files, okay, all at once. So if I have a very small assembly here, but what if I had 1,000 parts? Well, you can see that the design team I got from this did not go out and fill out the project I properties. So the beautiful thing about this is I'm just going to simply grab all of these. And if I come down here and say, grab my project, okay, and if I'm going to say edit the selected property on this, and I could just call this DC motor, if I could spell, fill all that in. And what the Vault is doing for me is updating that project property in all of these files in one shot. That means I don't have to open them anymore. I don't have to do anything. They're automatically updated and posted. Now, this is important because I'm using this DC motor project property to determine where in my cloud this data is going to go. Okay, so if I'm going to take this and I'm just going to change the state, and I'm going to say get all the children files that go with it at the same time, okay? All right. Now, I could do that if they were all in the same one, but see how it's giving me an error? It's noting and warning me that you can't do this because it's going to put it into the wrong rules. So we've got rules watching or being watched by our security as well. So I'll just change the state of the drawing to released, okay? And then I'm going to get the rest of these and change their state to released. And what you're going to see very quickly is that all of those things got added to my job queue, okay? And if I look, if I go back to my job processor right here, you can see it did a bunch of things, but I'm going to kick this off again just to start running the other ones. So this is the Power Jobs processor that's running those scripts for me in the background. And you can see there's nothing I have to do. I could have let this just sit for 12 hours or for a sync or 10 minutes, depending upon how often I have this running, okay? But you'll see that it's just chugging away. And as I go through and look at my job queue, you're going to see that this is getting smaller and smaller and smaller every time. And if I look at this Cloud Sync folder, you'll notice that I now have a Silicon Hub prototype and I have a DC motor prototype. And if you notice, I'm getting step files in here and I'm getting PDFs, but look at the name of them. This is the bearing V2 assembly, Rev A, produced 1027, okay, at 1221. So the naming convention I've set up adheres to my business practice. This could be anything. I could have the project name in here, the designer's name in here. It's anything that I want. And if I refresh this, you'll see that it just keeps putting more and more in here. You know, as much as it's going to keep generating these. And I'm, as a designer, going back to work, not having to think about exporting, putting it in the right folder, naming it correctly. What if I made a mistake? What if I forgot to do something? What if I did anything here? Okay. Now, the last step to this is something that I want to do, and that's called syncing to my cloud. So let me show you this real quickly. If I go to, okay, if I go to my Team Hub here, and I'll sign in to look at what's up here, you'll see that I've got a folder here called Vault Cool Orange Collaboration set up just for this. And if I open it up, you'll see that I've only got two sections in here right now. I've got all of my brewery main and my fishing rod section. Well, that's because I just created the DC motor and I just created the Silicon Hub prototype. Now, every day at 12 noon, okay, I have this Cloud Sync folder automatically uploaded to my cloud. Well, I don't want you to wait till 5 p.m. or 12 noon. So what I'm going to do now is just show you how this syncs up. So imagine that I'm taking all of these and I'm just going to say upload this to the cloud drive. This would be automatic if I waited, but I don't want you to wait because we don't have all day. So I'm going to do that with the same with this one here. And what you'll see now is that this job has been added. Normally this would say automatic upload, but because I did it manually, it just says manually so that we can go in and check on this. Okay. And again, I don't want to wait, so I'm going to kick this off manually. And now you're going to see that this Vault Sync job is running in the background. So part one of this is just setting up some simple scripts with some simple rules so that the designer can do what they do best, and that's design. I do my work, I check it into the vault, I release the files, and I walk away. Everything else happens behind the scenes on a set schedule by running the job processor. Okay. So if I were to come up here and I do a refresh on this now, we will see that we're starting to get, okay, some new folders. And you can see here now that my DC motor folder has been uploaded, and so has my Silicon Hub prototype. Now, to this Fusion Team Center, okay, I can actually invite other people. So this is where I can go through and invite vendors, clients, whatever, whomever I need to have in here, okay, they can come in and actually log in, and I can set up who has rights to this, who has this right, who has everything about this. But I can also set up what we call notifications, okay? And you can see here I've got this little bell notification. I can view alerts or things like that. And what happens on this is, as a team member, you can set up watches on folders or files to get notified when something new has been created. This is bi-directional, meaning I can upload my data here. My vendor can get to it, okay? So if my vendor wanted to see this, they can simply come in and view this, okay? And if they wanted to, they could actually come out then and annotate, download, redline, mark up, do something to this, okay? And this works for both 2D and 3D files, and we'll give it just a second here because it has to generate that view one time, and this is a new file, okay? So this is where you can opt for desktop or email notifications when this thing's all set up. But in here, we've got a 3D model that I can come in and take a look at. And if I were so, I can add a comment to this, okay? I can actually mark this up if I wanted to, okay? I could put a box around this and said, whoops, not a very good drawer, but hey, what about this thing? What does this look like? What's gonna happen to this? And as they save this, it would notify me that they've updated this. And I could then actually download their red lines and annotation into my vault so I could see and communicate and collaborate automatically, okay? So it's a real interesting way of the designer checking in, releasing, everything gets published to the team site notifies my vendors, the vendor updates, it notifies me, and we're communicating back and forth. Now, some other very simple, useful things. This PDF that we just created, if I want to look at this, I can see that it's actually attached to this new hub drawing. So if I were to go back to this prototype and I grab the new hub drawing and I said, well, what does it use? That PDF that I created is attached right to this. So as my hub goes through different life cycle changes and revisions, I can see all of the PDFs that's been created about this and go back and look at past versions to see if anything's occurred. Okay. Now, the hub, I'm not attaching the step files to. I could if I wanted to, okay? But, I wanted to make sure that people understood that this not only works for part files, but it works for assemblies as well, which is really kind of neat because if I go into my main, well, actually, I'll go into this fishing rod right here just because it's fishing season and I don't have a chance to get out too much anymore. But if I go to one of my assemblies here, okay, let's go to the side cover assembly. Okay, so whether it's a part, whether it's an assembly, whether it's a presentation, whether it's a drawing, whether it's, I don't really care what it is, okay, we've got access to these things. And this is such a nice lightweight modeler that we can actually come in here, we can explode things, we can take a look at them, we can pull them apart, annotate them, like if somebody wanted to comment on this back piece here, okay, we can actually go in and create up section views, we can create anything that we need to measure stuff. It's truly a collaboration tool that allows the people outside of my organization to communicate with my designers and not impose any other time on the designer, okay? So that is all I wanted to show you today. I'm not going to get into the code of how it works. I'm not going to get into the configuration of how it works. That gets real too techy and a little too weedy. But if there are questions, please ask them. I'm more than happy to answer them. And if you want to get a little bit more conversational depth about how this could help your company, that's where feel free to contact your Hagerman account rep, and we're more than happy to talk about this. So Julie, Ashley, I'm going to turn this back over to you guys and see if there's any questions.
All right, thanks. Next steps, pretty simple. We have a really simple questionnaire that we put together that can help determine if automating these publishing files is right for you. We'll make sure that we get that out to everybody. Your account managers will be following up to see how that questionnaire is. We are more than willing to send that ROI spreadsheet, and then we can provide you with an automated publishing quote so that you can get started down this path. Just want to bring up one thing before we get into Q&A. This requires Vault Workgroup and Vault Pro. This is not a Vault Basic capability that we have. So that has been a typical question. So, and now we're going to take a look at some questions. Mike, I can read these off to make sure.
Well, I actually saw the first one there, and it raised a very good point. I forgot to mention one thing, but it's a great segue into it. So the question I saw here is, can a network drive be used instead of a cloud sync drive? And Julie, if you could pass screen sharing back to me for a moment, I'm going to show the last thing that I forgot to.
Okay. There you go.
So the question, can a network drive be used instead of the cloud sync drive? Absolutely yes. And I forgot to mention, thank you for bringing it up. It's like I paid somebody to say that. If you look on my C drive, I have a CO output, cool orange output, and everything that I just created was exported to this directory while it was also uploaded to the Vault and to my cloud sync drive. So I apologize I forgot to mention that, but it really leads in well to that question. So yes, I can import it to the Vault, upload it to my cloud sync drive, but I can just as easily export these to an external network drive or local drive. And I have worked with companies that have that local drive where I'm exporting it to be synchronized to Google Drive, OneDrive, Box, Dropbox.
Their
Really
ERP.
yeah, their ERP system. The only thing I will mention about that is the bidirectional linking only occurs with our cloud syncing. So the other sites like this, it's a one-way. We can push to it, but we wouldn't be able to read back in from it. Okay.
So Mike, somebody asked the question, what about generating DWFs?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you notice there that I actually created, when I checked it in, I had it create the DWFs automatically for storing inside of the Vault. Okay, so if I were to go to one of these, and I actually will turn on some hidden files just so you can see them, you'll see that, oh, excuse me, hiccups here. You'll see that every file I checked in automatically had a DWF created for it. Okay. I could just as easily export these DWFs to the Cloud Sync folder or to my network drive. I just don't have that script set up that way, but absolutely we can create DWFs.
Okay. Will this work for AutoCAD files?
Yes, sir. Yes. The file, the scripting that we are working with right now is independent of the file or the CAD product or the software used to create it. It is solely based on the script and the file within the Vault. So if I were to bring in an AutoCAD drawing or even bring in a Word doc or something like that, I could have it kick off scripting tools to work on those just as well. Vault is linked to AutoCAD. Once those AutoCAD files get brought into the Vault, the same scripting picks up and takes over, I should say.
And a plug for AutoCAD Electrical is we can also handle that via an AutoCAD Electrical project so that all files within that project can be published as well. So next question, Mike, can you edit a custom iProperty through the Vault? But if a DWG shows this custom property, will the drawing update before being published?
It can. Yes, I mean we can edit customize properties, okay? We just need to map those customized properties to the vault. So when you set up the vault and we create a property, we map it to a customized property. We could even have the vault create those customized properties in files where it does not exist yet, okay? There is also another method, and I won't get into it too far, but you can go in and create a tool in, or I should say a check in the vault that would tell on this drawing life cycle to make sure that we synchronize all properties and update views or update things. We could set that up, okay, to make sure that the title blocks are updated with the correct iProperty fields before publishing. It would be a little bit more complicated because we're running a pre-publishing task, but yes, we could still do that.
All right. If files are moved in the vault, are they also moved into the Cloud Sync drive?
No. So the way this works, or I should say this, the way I have this set up is that the Cloud Sync folder is based on the project that's in the files. So wherever they live in the vault, it does not impact my Cloud Sync folder structure. Now, if in turn I said, do not use the project, but use the parent folder name to generate my Cloud Sync folder, then any move in my file would result in a change in where the files were published on my Cloud Sync. You do have to be a little bit careful here depending on how deep your script gets. It won't clean up after itself. It will just create a new folder. So, you know, it's all about how you create and set up your script. But yes, I mean, it will adhere depending upon how you set the naming structure up.
Right. And the next question is, can a network drive be used instead of the Cloud Sync? I think you've already answered that yes,
Yep.
Absolutely. That's a more typical workflow. Today, I think we're finding very quickly in our new normal that the cloud has become much more important. The next is, it would be nice to have a webinar, Programming Cool Orange. We actually already have done that one. Forrest has done that for us. We'll make sure that if you'd like the link to our website, that you can watch that. It is not a training class, but it goes much more in depth into the actual PowerShell script that is used. Next question, Mike, is can you sort where the file goes based on the file name, like a part number?
Yes, absolutely. You know, without getting too geeky, I could show you scripting, but essentially what my script does is it goes to the vault and it says, hey, give me all the properties of the file. And I say, the new folder name is the project name. I could just as easily say, hey, the new folder or new file name is based on the part number, and I want to concatenate that with something else. Absolutely. Any piece of information that exists about this file can be used to generate its folder location and or new file name that we're publishing to.
Great. The next question, and I can answer this one, can you do AutoCAD publishing automatically without the vault? The answer is no. Not using these tools. These tools are based, again, on Vault Workgroup or Vault Professional. I believe there's other products out there that for just simple AutoCAD can be used, but this is truly based around using Autodesk's data management tools. Any other questions? I don't see any. So Ashley, I guess I'm going to hand this back over to you if you don't mind.
Okay, great. Well, thank you guys for the presentation, and thank you all for attending today. If you do think of questions later, you can simply reply to that confirmation or reminder email you received from GoToWebinar, and we can get those to the right person. Once again, a short survey will pop up as we close down today, and we are grateful for you to fill that out for us. And also, you will receive an email tomorrow with a link for the recording of today's presentation. And
Actually,
yeah,
there's one. I just saw one more quick question pop up,
okay.
and it's from Eli, and he asked, "Can this be used with Vault Office?" And the answer to that is no. Vault Office itself is a tool, a functional tool that allows you to do check-in and check-out of Office documents through the web client. It requires a Vault Pro license in the background, but these tools specifically are on life cycle transitions, and we don't have that capability is not in Vault Office. So sorry.
No problem. Okay.
Yep.
Well, thank you all and have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.